All right, you saw those polls. Campaign is heating up. Let's head to our reporters on the ground with both leaders. Trudy McIntosh is with the Prime Minister's team in Perth. Jonathan Lee is with the Opposition Leader's team in Brisbane. I'll go to Jonathan first if I can. You were with the Opposition Leader today. Jonathan, you put him under some pressure. I saw that question. I want to play it for my viewers now and then we'll get your take on it and the day more broadly. Let's have a listen.
Offshore processing began when I was Deputy Prime Minister in 2013. We turn back boats. We have settlement in third countries. Settlement in third countries. Now, you were Deputy Prime Minister from June 26, 2013 through to September of that year. Now, between that period, some 3,960 people arrived illegally in Australia on 48 boats. You didn't turn back the boats.
No.
Is that not accurate?
No.
And what confidence do people have that you will turn back the boats?
We have said that we support Operation Sovereign Borders. We've said we support the offshore processing system. We've said we support boat turnbacks. We've said we support settlement in third countries. There is a difference that we have over temporary protection visas. We have been very clear about the policies that we support, very clear going forward. We will continue to support them. And one of the things I said on radio this morning was that the government said that if you agreed to the New Zealand model, it would open up the whole system again. The truth is they delayed on that. They delayed on that for year after year. We have been calling upon them to accept it, and they waited until just before the election.
You were right to pick him up on that point, Jonathan. How did he handle it, do you think, and what was the rest of the day like?
I think what we've got, well, at least had today, was a far more assertive Anthony Albanese in a number of his answers. Labor HQ has since come back to us and said there was a point of difference in his answer on radio in saying we turned back boats, as in future tense, that's what we're going to do, not we turned back the boats. But unequivocally, we know how many people came, illegally arrived in Australia during that period, and what many within the Labor Party would still like to do if elected to government, and especially if in a coalition of sorts with the Greens. Dismantling border protection would certainly be amongst the chief arguments of the Greens if they ever garnered any sort of power within a coalition government with the Labor Party. But today, Anthony Albanese, much more assertive, as we pointed out yesterday, when he stands beside Jim Chalmers and Murray Watt. He certainly is a much more robust figure, and he certainly feels at least as if he has some armoury around him when he answers those questions. He can easily deflect, move off, allow Jim Chalmers, the Shadow Treasurer, to come on and break up some of that momentum when he starts to get into trouble.
Yeah, well, Chalmers stands behind him as his numbers safety net. That's a very clear tactic. I think that's an insurance policy from Labor this week. I thought he was a bit rocky yesterday. I think the news poll today has made the Labor leader feel and look and sound more confident. Give us a sense of how are they preparing for tomorrow's first big debate. This is on Sky News, 8 o'clock tomorrow night. This will be where everybody, I think, will be, I think it's 7 o'clock, I've got that wrong, but I think this is where everybody will be having a good look at Anthony Albanese and assessing whether they think he's up to the top job.
Well, Peter, and I'm really fascinated in what you think about this also, because we pulled up stumps again today at about 1:30 or 2 o'clock. It was similar yesterday. We were told today it was about preparing for tomorrow's debate. Obviously, they're incredibly concerned about it. They need to make sure that they're on the front foot after a tough week. They want to reset their campaign. I'm surprised, though, that we're not seeing Anthony Albanese campaign much more publicly through the afternoon with event after event. Now, no doubt they're doing things behind the scenes, but the media last 2 days has been taken back to the hotel, given the opportunity to file and work on their stories. We, of course, do live crosses all day, but I'm surprised at that tactic, that we're not seeing a much more public Anthony Albanese out there on the front foot, especially here in Queensland. And what they've really done also for the past 3 days is focus very heavily on the dissatisfaction in the community following the flood. So we've talked about that in the Northern Rivers and twice here in Queensland. I feel like they're tapping into that sentiment in much the same way we saw in South Australia, talking about health and ramping.
So my take on that, Jonathan, is they're missing the picture opportunities in the afternoon. They're missing the news grabs going in that night. And what's shown out of events at 10 o'clock with the opposition leader are very old by 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock into the evening. And they're certainly missing the chance to refresh content for social media. Now, they're not idiots in the Labor camp. They know all of that. but they're choosing this path of locking down their leader because they are risk adverse.
Yeah.
They are worried about a shocker of a week that they don't compound it with a bad week too, and they have to steady things and get him to settle and at least come out of this week even with the government, but certainly not behind like they were. Got to leave it there. 7 o'clock tomorrow night, I'm told. I cannot get that wrong. That's the Sky News People's Forum. We watch you that. I will be too.